So today, the office space for the Fox Theater Foundation is actually in a different building than the Fox Theater itself. It's a little building just behind the Fox called the Star Building. It's called that because it was originally the home for the Arizona Daily Star when it was built in 1883. 1883! So this is actually a highly unique building in Tucson, though often overlooked. The railroad came to Tucson in 1880, and what that meant was suddenly Tucson had access to all of these prefabricated construction materials coming from usually San Francisco and the West Coast that it didn't have before. So all the architecture changed post-1880, and there was an architect who just came to Tucson right around that time, whose name was Alexander Pettit. And he was well-versed in all of this new architecture because he had done some work in San Francisco and had the connections there. And so he came in the early 1880s and ended up building the Star Building. It was one of the very first two-story brick buildings in Tucson, period. And it's actually the last known example in Tucson of one of these kinds of buildings that were built in that early post-railroad style, emulating a lot of the buildings that were actually in San Francisco at that point in time. It's also the last known commercial building known to be standing in Tucson, or actually in all of Arizona, by that same architect. And it is still alive today because when the Fox Theater Foundation was rehabilitating and restoring the Fox Theater, it also ended up restoring that building too, such that now all of those buildings, the Fox Theater and the adjacent building and the Star Building, are listed on the National Register for Historic Places.